Peace, something we are all seeking and yearning for. Peace, something we were once indigenous to. Peace, something we have lost along our way. Our way to obtaining knowledge of self. The knowledge of our ancestors who were removed from their natural state. The knowledge of our people who refused to be oppressed. In our journey, we lost our grip on peace. In a society of pressure, stress, and traumas, we have become comfortable with holding on to the burdens of fear and anxiety, family secrets buried in our DNA. Change within is our only way back to peace. Peace in our communities, peace in our families, peace within ourselves. A major change in our thinking, in our actions, in our existence is needed. A non-negotiable change. Welcome to the revolution with Sister Talibah.
This is an injustice.
Bismillah. Peace. Assalamu alaikum. It is I, Sister Talibah, going live on a late Wednesday evening. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope everyone had a good day today. I definitely did, and it was definitely a busy day for me, alhamdulillah. So thank you to all of you that are tuning in, and thank you to all of you that will catch the replay. So as promised, I am back for part 2 of my message of you uplift the curse that you are meant to heal. And if you watched part 1 of this message, I had got that message unexpectedly during an early morning meditation. And so what I found is that I can easily connect this message to what I had originally planned to talk about for Mental Health Mondays. And what I originally was inspired to speak about was is the audacity of the colonizer, the audacity of the white supremacists, the audacity of the racists. So, and what inspired me to even go there is the climate that we are currently living in. America has always been racist, but now that we see that it has escalated, right? We see what's going on with ICE and how ICE is deporting so-called illegals, or as I prefer to use the term, the undocumented, because I personally think that it is immoral and unethical to call a human being an illegal or an alien. If they don't have the proper paperwork to reside in this country, then they are undocumented. And quite frankly, the undocumented individuals, a lot of them, if not most of them, the majority of them are from Mexico. And in my opinion, they have more right to be here than the racists do, if we know our history. Okay, but I'll go down that rabbit hole, or I'll get to that later on. But I wanted to start this tidbit off, and this is the end of Wednesday Wellness. So I'm going to have a solution at the end of this tidbit. I don't ever want to do, I don't ever want to address a concern without following up with the solution. So let's get to it. What inspired me is the last two recent experiences that I've had at the grocery store. So I want to say maybe like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, I was at the grocery store and I kept running into this man down the aisle, like different parts of the grocery store. We were just running into each other. I think it happened like three separate times. And on the third time that it happened, we laughed because I literally turned around and he was coming up the aisle towards me, and our buggies almost hit each other. And so we laughed. He was very polite. And it's important for me to recognize that he is a white male, an older white male, and he was dressed in the camouflage jacket and hat. And he asked me a question. He said, "Are you?" No, he said, "Do you speak Arabic?" And I say, I'm actually learning Arabic so I could read the Quran. And we just got to talking. I think our conversation lasted maybe at least 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes. And by his appearance, I would have never guessed that we would have this deep conversation. So after he asked me if I could speak Arabic, he then began to tell me that he was a veteran and that he served in the Iraqi war and how he helped train the Iraqi soldiers. Um, and during that training, they taught him what he called survival Arabic. And then from him being with them, he learned a lot about Islam, Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, etc. And he was really honest with me. And he was really honest with me and said that going into the war, he thought very negatively about Muslims. However, God put him in a situation where he learned the truth, right? So, from that experience, he further researched Islam himself. He told me that he identifies as a Christian and that he believes that Jesus, may peace and blessings be upon him, is his Lord and Savior. And then he further went and started talking about how um, Christianity has been whitewashed and that a lot of these quote unquote knuckleheads, and he called ignorant people another term that I can't think of right now, but he said they are misguided. They are basically in a state of ignorance about what Islam is and who Muslims are. And they don't take the time out to learn about Islam. So he talked about that, and he talked about how Allah is pretty much the same God that Muslims worship. He's telling me all this stuff that I already know. And he was expressing his frustrations about the overall ignorance, what's happening now with I'm gonna call it the war against Muslims. Like we see what Anthony Hudson started. Allegedly, he's trying to clean it up, but I don't even believe that. I really believe, he's really with it. He's with the shenanigans, right? I don't trust him. So We talked about what went down in Dearborn, all of that. And so then from that conversation, he went into how he tried to commit suicide. And when he tried to am I supposed to say that word on here? Okay, let me switch it up. When he tried to unaliven himself, excuse me, he heard God speak to him, and God told him that it's not his time. So he didn't follow through with it. He also told me about how a close friend of his had called him right before he unalivened himself, and how he think his purpose is to talk to people one on one, about God and all of this good stuff. And I mean, we talked and talked and talked. And then at the end of our conversation, he thanked me for listening. He said he felt so good about himself. Um, and that how he usually has social anxiety. He doesn't like to grocery shop because all the people are around, and he has PTSD, etc. And it was a very interesting conversation. I felt like I was there to simply listen and to also validate him. And I just felt like, that wasn't a coincidence, that was a divine order, so to speak. So, very beautiful conversation. Um, this man, he really showed me his heart. And, I thank Allah for that experience. So, I go to the grocery store again this past Sunday, and I'm walking in the produce section, minding my business, and I just look up and I see a white male, a little bit younger this time, standing with a woman who I assume is his wife. And I caught him staring at me. Ironically, he had on the same type of clothing that the first gentleman, the veteran, had on when we had our encounter in the same grocery store. And he turned away from me and started just shaking his head as if I had wronged him. And I was confused, but I stopped, I paused, and I looked at him and I stared at him. And at him enough for him to hear, because it was clear to me that he didn't like how I presented myself to the world as a very modestly dressed Black Muslim woman. And I think he was more upset of the fact that I am a Muslim woman. And so I was so shocked. I was so shocked that I continued to walk. And then I stopped and looked back, and he was staring at me again. And I just stared at him. I was quite a distance away from him. And I just stared at him. And then I watched him, and he said something to his wife. And then he started pointing at me. He would stare, look back, stare, point at me again. I was so infuriated. So what ended up happening was that my older son, really my sons, came inside the grocery store, and my oldest is 15, so he stayed with me because I had to go to customer service. And he knew what had happened. And he actually saw the guy and he was trying to get my attention because he was asking me, was it this guy? Was it this guy? And I was like, no. But then when I was handling my business at customer service, he was trying to get my attention, but I wasn't paying attention. So when we got back to the our vehicle, he told me what happened. He was like, did he have on this and that? I said, yes. Was he with a woman? Yes. My son got upset. That was him. That was him. So I was pretty upset because for me, it's always the audacity. Here I am minding my business. I'm walking through the grocery store by myself. I am a woman. Here you are, sir, standing with your wife, with your woman. And how is it that you felt that it was okay to stare at me, to point at me, to make me feel, I almost want to say unsafe, but I really wanted to confront him. I'm gonna just really be honest. I really wanted to confront him. I know that's not a good idea, y'all. I know. But I was really upset because you don't know me. I'm not bothering you. I'm not bothering you. And I am a woman. I am by myself. I'm sure he would not appreciate any man treating his wife in the manner that he treated me. Granted, he didn't say anything to me, but his silence, his what do I want to say? His body language, his eyes, his energy spoke volumes. So I was upset all the way until the next day when I woke up. And that's not good. It's not good at all. And I kept replaying it over and over again because what I realized is this. I I am not going to be able to shop by myself for a little while. I'm either going to have my husband with me or my sons with me, my older sons. And that really frustrates me. It really frustrates me to think and to know that a man can potentially hurt me. A white male can potentially hurt me. A racist white male can potentially hurt me based off of my religion. So I really, like, I went to bed with that on my mind. I woke up with that on my mind. And I was really upset about it. And so that was my inspiration um, in regards to covering this topic, the audacity of the colonizer, right? And another aspect of this is the reels that I'm seeing on social media of the harassment that Muslims are facing because of this so called fear of Sharia law. And it is clear that a lot of these so called Christians, and I'm going to say so called Christians because I know real Christians, and they are not Christians, in my opinion. These so called Christians that do not do their research, they are emotionally unintelligent, and I think they're insecure within their own selves about their own religion because I don't think they've studied their own religion, to be quite frank. But seeing that on social media and then going through my experience, it's a bit much. And it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating to me. Um, I've also been experiencing racism at work. And please believe that I have addressed this. And I have literally shouted out at management about, like, literally popped off. Let me just be honest. When there is an injustice going on, I don't like it. I feel fire in my stomach. And I have to say what I need to say. I have to point it out. And upper management is all white, all white. And I literally had to tell upper management, you all do not care about the black women that work for this organization. And I did not say it calmly like that. I was literally on fire, as I should have been. And I'm not ashamed of that. If you wrong, you wrong. You speak up against injustice. That's what you're supposed to do. So, this injustice at my job that I've been seeing front and center has been going on for some months now, if not probably like over a year. That has literally been in my face. I've been seeing white people that are not as qualified as the black people being given promotions. And I'm talking, there are two people, one no longer works there, two black people, both, one is a woman, one is a male, both have two masters, constantly being looked over, constantly not being taken serious. That was one of the reasons why I taught recently about, knowing your worth, making your own table, creating your own table, etc. Um, I think that tidbit was called lack of value. But anyways, so it's like everything is piling up for me in regards to racism and what I'm seeing and what I am experiencing. Now, my next topic on this, I don't want to offend anyone, but I'm going to say it. Can we talk about Thanksgiving? Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. And the question that I have is, with everything that is going on, everything that is unjust, that is right in front of our faces, how do we have the audacity to honor Thanksgiving, knowing the origin of Thanksgiving? Can someone explain this to me? I have actually been questioning this since my 20s. And in my 20s, my early 20s specifically, I was this Pan African sister that was moving to Africa. I cut off my perm, had a natural. I was going to change my name. Honey, I was doing all of that, okay? And I was questioning everything. I still am questioning everything, but I was definitely pro black on everything. Black, 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 blackity black. And I remember questioning my family. And I'm not gonna lie, I love growing up. I loved getting together for the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. It was good times. I don't regret those good times. But now I'm even more serious now about not observing Thanksgiving Day, because how do you celebrate a day that came about from someone's genocide? How can you heal the effects of racism if you continue to give thanks to white supremacy? If you continue to give thanks to genocide, to murder, to oppression, to discrimination, to being oblivious to other people's pain? The Native Americans, the indigenous people, I believe they make up 2% of the US population. They suffer from alcoholism, many of them. A lot of their women are kidnapped, stolen. They have a lot of deep rooted issues. Black people, we think we have deep rooted issues. Please investigate. And this is not to invalidate our issues, but look at the Native Americans. I mean, they're barely in existence, right? And I'm not going to get too deep into this, but I am becoming more and more curious about if Black Americans are really indigenous to this land. Are we more indigenous to this land than we are from Africa? But that's a totally different subject matter. That's just something that I'm interested in. Okay. So, but I had to say that. But how can we justify it? And I remember in my 20s, I used to bring this up about Thanksgiving, and my family would say, but it's just a day, to spend time with your family, give thanks for, show gratitude for what you have, thank God, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I went along with that, but I know better. And now I really know better now that I'm in my 40s. And I just don't want to continue that, because the deeper I think about it, I'm also looking at it on an esoteric level. Is there a spiritual consequence to the ritual of investing our time, our energy, our money to massive grocery shopping? Are we celebrating the spirit of gluttony? I hope I said that word correctly. Is the turkey our animal sacrifice in this ritual? It's an annual ritual. We go through the same process every year. You go grocery shop, get all this food, make all this food, stuff yourself, overstuff yourself, which is really an spiritual error. It is a spiritual error. I don't know about Judaism. I know you're not supposed to overstuff yourself in Christianity. I know you're not supposed to do it in Islam. There is a hadith, and any Muslims that are listening, please correct me if I'm wrong. The hadith says that your stomach should have 1/3 of food, 1/3 of water, and 1/3 of air. So, what are we really celebrating with Thanksgiving? Am I being too deep for y'all? Am I talking nonsense? Because in one breath, how can you raise hell about the racism that's going on, about ICE, about Trump being a white supremacist allegedly, about this, about that? How can you complain about all this injustice, black people still being hung, and they don't want to say that he was hung? They want to say, oh, he committed suicide, they committed suicide. We still dealing with redlining. I mean, we're still dealing with a system of racism, but yet every November we gear up, we gear up to give thanks to the first pilgrims that allegedly discovered this land. And what they teach us in school, it was such a beautiful experience, right? The pilgrims were peaceful. And really think about this, y'all. Every Thanksgiving, the same ritual every year. And not only is it's about us coming together as a collective to do this, but look at it on a macro level to where community agencies and churches and other organizations are holding all of these feed the poor, passing out turkeys. Again, the turkey, is that an animal sacrifice? Really look at that. The older, or excuse me, the longer that I live, the more that I'm questioning the origin of things, the origin of practices. But this may be too much for some of y'all. But how, in one breath, you complain about racism, but you celebrate it at the same time? Isn't that double mindedness? Isn't that confusion? Isn't that hypocrisy? I'm just saying. And I'm not downing anyone, but I'm sounding the alarm. What are we celebrating? Could it be that this annual ritual is, how do I want to say this? Is it uplifting the curse that we are meant to heal? Is it giving power to the system of racism? Is it prolonging the curse of white supremacy, the curse of racism, the curse of discrimination? Is it prolonging that? Or am I crazy? Am I talking too deep? Y'all let me know. I'm just saying, these questions came to me. So I'm going to bring them up. But really, at least consider what I'm saying. At least think about it. I understand Big Mama said we getting together as a family. I understand. I understand all of that. I grew up like that as well. And I cherish those memories. But I'm just saying, at some point, can we call a spade a spade? Can we call a thing a thing? Can we have a real conversation? Are we uplifting a curse that is meant to be healed, that is meant to be corrected? So, now that I drilled that into y'all heads, let me propose a solution. Okay? So, let me make this a little bit bigger and go to the next slide. So, this is my solution to the colonizer, to the consciousness of racism, to the experience of white supremacy. This is my solution. A shift has to happen in the consciousness of white people that are racist. And the only one that can lead this charge, in my opinion, is a white person or white people that have the consciousness of John Brown and Miss Jane Elliott. These are the only two people that I could really think of. They came to my mind, so I'm gonna go with them. I have high regard for them, and that's not to say that there are not other white people that um, do not have an anti-racist mentality. I know some personally, so I'm not suggesting this at all. But I want to look at people that are more so well known on a macro level. Okay. John Brown was an abolitionist in the 1800s. He fought against slavery, not peacefully, fought against slavery. And if I'm not mistaken, he was friends with Harriet Tubman and an inspiration to Nat Turner. But John Brown, and I'm going to read, I don't even have a book on John Brown, but I'm going to get a book. There are quite a few books that you can get off Amazon, but check out these three movies. John Brown, The Advocate is a movie. The Good Lord Bird, excuse me, everyone, is actually a TV miniseries. I don't think it comes on anymore. And then there's also a Netflix movie called Santa Fe Trail. And man, I've seen clips. If even if you YouTube it, I've seen some really good clips about this man. And I really believe, and he stood on Bible. He was a hardcore, firm Christian, and he was not having that treating black people unequal. He was a firm Christian, and he was about that life. And by any means necessary. Okay? He wasn't a turn the other cheek type of Christian. He was about handling his business by any means necessary. So that's the type of consciousness that I think that is needed to heal the effects of racism, um, as well as Miss Jane Elliott, who is an educator, and she is still living. And some of you may be familiar with her, but please Google her, YouTube her. I think her first TV experience was on the Oprah Winfrey Show when she did the Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes anti-racism exercise. And then she also did this, and I don't know the name of this. I want to call it like a documentary. But she was in a classroom, and I was it college or high school age? I can't remember. but she really broke, like broke broke the white kids down in the classroom and was telling them like really hardcore firm, not sugarcoating, not being soft and gentle. She was hardcore about racism. And please y'all look her up. Look her up. I really admire her work. But I in my opinion, I feel that non-whites do not have any business teaching racist white people about racism. I don't think that's effective. I just don't. I think you need people with the consciousness of John Brown and Miss Jane Elliott to do that work. That's my opinion. If you differ from my opinion, that's fine. Put it in the chat. I don't care. I mean, it's a great discussion to have, right? But I just don't think that it's our place to teach racist white people to not be racist. I just don't think that. I don't think that's effective. Um, and someone may argue, well, what about Dr. King? What about the civil rights movement? The majority of people in the civil rights movement were black people. I have never witnessed a civil rights movement that was majority white. I have never seen hundreds or thousands of white people marching down the street, yelling, protesting to end racism and calling out white supremacy. Have y'all ever seen that? I have not. So I just think it would be better for people that look like them, but that have a righteous consciousness to lead that charge. And that's for me, that's the cure. That's the solution. That's how you stump out that curse. That's how you heal that curse. You hold people accountable. That's the good audacity. The good audacity is having the courage to confront what is evil and what is no good and what is destructive. So I look forward to seeing the feedback from this part too. Maybe let's see if we have anyone in the chat before I end this live. Let's see. Okay, I don't have anyone in the chat. Alhamdulillah. It's late, it's after midnight now. So I hope that you all appreciate this live. I hope that the message was felt in this tidbit. I hope that I was able to express myself in an articulate manner and that everything made sense. Any questions, any concerns, please DM me, please contact me or leave a question in the chat. I pray that everyone who is celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow, I pray that you have a good day with your family. I pray that you enjoy yourself. Um, and I pray for everyone, whether you're celebrating or not. I pray for all of us to just have a nice, peaceful day tomorrow and to definitely be safe. Okay? I love you all and I thank you for your support. And look out for part two because there's something else that I need to address in regards to uplifting the curse that we are meant to heal. There's a part three. Look out for part three, inshallah, and I'll go live tomorrow. Thank you for your support. I love you. Have a peaceful evening. Assalamu alaikum.
To hell with those damn willow trees. We don't give a damn about them willow trees. We need clean water, a public safety plan, $16 million for new roads